Hello, this is Clements, and welcome to my very first Inside Network Marketing video blog. This video blog will continue a long line of various forms of commentary that I've done over the last 21 years, going all the way back actually to the mid-90s when I had a book called Inside Network Marketing. Then I had a radio show over on KSCO out of Santa Cruz called Inside Network Marketing. And then I did of course, online alerts under the same name that you can sign up for free, by the way, by going to my website at marketwaveinc.com. And then I had a podcast where I gave audio commentary that you all can just go to my website and listen to anytime you want. And then for some reason, by popular demand, everybody said, Len, you got to do a video blog. And I never really understood that. I don't know what really the value was to seeing my face as you hear what I have to say. But people said, well, no, Troy Dooley does it and Eric Worre does it, and you got to do what they do. And I'm thinking, well, if you look at Eric Worre's face, look at Troy Dooley's face, and then look at I'm afraid that if somebody clicks on this accidentally, they're going to think they got into one of those Geico caveman commercials or something. But anyway, I guess if you have to see my face to hear what I have to say, fine. Everybody wants it, you got it. So instead of going over and clicking on the audio link and just listening to what I have to say, now you can actually watch me say it. So the first thing that I really want to talk about in this sort of inaugural edition is something that's really been weighing on my mind for a long time, and it's just something that I kind of want to get off my chest right here from the start, and that is how we as an industry seem to have a real hard time defending ourselves. Now, we defend our own companies, absolutely. In fact, we do that kind of to a fault sometimes. Some people in this business seem to kind of treat their own opportunities almost like a religion, and I'm not exaggerating. It's unusual, but it actually takes on that kind of fervor and that kind of passion at some time. But we don't seem to feel that way about the entire industry or the entire profession of network marketing. In fact, it's almost considered to be kind of a taboo act to defend the entire industry. We need to understand that if you're going to find I make a lot of analogies. I try to stay away from the sports analogies, but I'm going to do them anyway. But this industry of network marketing is kind of like someone who's sick. They have a disease of some kind. Probably, I guess the best analogy would be like an alcoholic or a drug addict. But the first step is you've got to admit that you've got a sickness, that you've got a problem. And then once you've acknowledged that there's something that needs to be fixed, then we can set about trying to fix it. But then besides that, we've also got these external forces. Imagine if maybe that person in this analogy was, being wrongfully accused of something, and they're being prosecuted for it, and they need to defend themselves. And here's what we do as an industry. First of all, we don't acknowledge that it's broke. Some of us do, absolutely, and there are exceptions to this, of course. But in general, as an industry, we're always out there telling everybody now, at least the leadership from most of them I've heard, about how this industry is getting so much more respect now, and it's being admired more, it's being more accepted in the general population, that stigma is starting to go away, it's being recognized more and more as a legitimate form of business. Okay, I don't know what these leaders are looking at, but that's sure not what I'm seeing. We are as misunderstood, and that's really what it is. There is just as much of a prejudice and an ignorance towards this profession as there has ever been. In fact, it kind of seems like it's getting worse. And I use the term ignorance deliberately. Ignorance does not mean dumb or stupid. Ignorance means ignorance. Okay, the ignorance of readily available information, a lack of education, I guess, or a lack of knowledge. And it certainly is a prejudice, a prejudice. People look at this industry and they immediately dismiss it. I've actually found that the large majority of people that I've spoken to that are outer circle people, by that I mean people not actively involved in network marketing and they've never been, most of them have no idea even what this industry is all about. And I'll get more detail on that subject in a future video blog. But what I found again is that no one's really presented it to him. A friend of mine the other day that's been around this business for about 25 years. I've been in 21 years. And he asked me a very interesting question. He goes, Len, in 21 years, how many people have pitched you on Amway? And I thought, you know what? No one. Not one. He goes, me too. 25 years for him, 21 for me. Neither one of us has ever been pitched on Amway. And I think the reason for this is because as an industry, we're this encapsulated little group of about 10 million people. I know the DSA says 16 million, but that's total distributorships, not distributors. I'll define that more later on too. But for right now, it's about 10 or 11 million active individual distributors. But we're in this capsule, and inside this capsule, we're all kind of like feeding on each other. And everyone's so reluctant to go to the outer circle, to get outside that capsule and bring in some new blood, because we're so afraid that they're all going to say that, oh, you guys are just a bunch of pyramids, or they're going to, look at us weird, make the sign of the cross and run screaming from us or whatever. But it's, and in some cases, that's true. There absolutely is still a stigma about this business. There is a great misunderstanding. And there's two reasons for it. One, it's self-inflicted. Again, there's some problems that we have within this industry, and we need to clean it up from within. Some of the claims we make about our products are absurd. Some of the products that we have are absurd. Some of the ways our compensation plans are presented or designed. Some of these ridiculous, what I call junk MLM companies that promote themselves now on the internet to look like very viable large companies. And they're very attractive because people are attracted to hype, and they're very hypey. Now, there are some people, some small factions within this industry that are really fed up, that really want to stand up and start doing something about this and cleaning the industry up from within. And that's great that there's a movement kind of on a grassroots level to do that right now. But unfortunately, the larger problem where that sort of taboo act of defending the industry comes in has to do with these external forces, these anti-MLM critics, if you will. Now, I'm talking about just the people that are anti-MLM. I mean, there are a lot of them out there, again, because they don't understand what this industry is all about. They've basically, what they've done is they've chosen to adopt someone else's opinion of it. Because most of these people that are anti-MLM have never actually looked at it. They've never been involved. They've never considered it. Someone told them they're supposed to think negatively of this business, and they've chosen to adopt that opinion. The source of this information, for the most part, comes from a very prolific but very small group of people. If you Google MLM, you will find that usually 4 or 5 of the top 10 hits are anti-MLM sites exclusively. Generally about 8 or 9 of the top 20 are devoted entirely to bashing this industry. And these are people, by the way, that get on radio shows and write books. I mean, these are very high-profile anti-MLM critics. Now think about this. There are 10 million of us. There's a dozen of them. 8 or 9 of them that show up in that top 20. I mean, why are they kicking our ass? Out there in the court of public opinion. How are they getting all of these top rankings? And why don't we defend ourselves against them? Because the case they're making against this industry, all of the stuff they say about how, we're going to hit saturation, you got to get in early to make any money, only the people at the top do, 98% fail, all of these claims they're making about this industry are so mathematically, logically, historically, legally, verifiably wrong. And we can defend ourselves against these claims. But the attitude has always been, if we go after them, if we defend ourselves against them, if we put stuff up on the internet or whatever that rebuts their claim, we'll give them more attention. We'll direct more people to them that otherwise wouldn't even have known about them. So we'll just ignore them. And the result is, to make another analogy, it's kind of like the U.S. Marines against some cavemen with rocks and spears. But in this analogy, the U.S. Marines, us, are just standing there with our hands clasped behind our back and our chins jutted out and our eyes closed, and we're saying, fire away. And we could end this instantly by just defending ourselves, but we choose not to. Now, I understood the reasoning behind this several years ago, before this thing called the internet became popularized. Right now, any prospect that's doing any kind of due diligence at all, that's going online and searching for information about network marketing or the company they're getting into, they're already seeing these people. If we defend ourselves against them, yeah, maybe 97% of our prospects will be aware of them instead of 95%. Okay, that idea like we don't want to give them any more attention or any more credence or credibility or whatever, that doesn't fly anymore. Because what they're saying is getting heard by a lot of people. And again, just Google MLM, see what you see. The wiki entry, the Wikipedia entry now for MLM has become an anti-MLM site. The anti-MLM faction, about a half a dozen people out there, have taken it over. And again, we're an industry of 10 million. Do you understand that if the 10 million of us, even the 1% of us that care enough to really do anything to defend the industry, the 99% that fail or whatever, well, those are the ones that, they buy a kit, they get a couple of no's, they quit. I'm talking about that good core 100,000 that are really in this and taking it seriously. Imagine what would happen if they would go in there and edit that site to just make it neutral. I'm absolutely not saying that should be a pro-MLM site. It should just be balanced. It should be neutral. You go in there right now and you see all these links to these anti-MLM sites, like in the reference section and so forth. You put any link to a pro-MLM site that rebuts any of that stuff, it'll get edited back out sometimes literally within minutes. There are people who monitor that now, or what appears to be 24/7, because I've done it. I've tried to neutralize that site a little bit, and the stuff I put in there within minutes, it'll be gone. It'll be set back to the way it was. So, we have the ability to control that. It could be something like a trade association would want to do, but apparently no one's gotten around to doing that yet. There are people out there who have done a great job of defending the industry sort of generically against some of these claims. Tim Sales actually does a great job with a lot of videos that he does, responding to things like, you don't have to be in early to make the money. This one claim about, you can have a better chance of making money in Vegas, at the craps table than you do MLM. Here's the only challenge I have with, and specifically in this case, the way that Tim does this. He doesn't call out the perpetrators. For example, there's this one where he does a great job of defending against that claim about you can make more money in Vegas than in MLM. Of course, the absurdity of that claim, which is actually made by a very prolific anti-MLM, almost kind of zealot type person. His name is John Taylor. He runs something called Consumer Awareness Institute, which is him. Okay, just typing on his computer. But they do. They have a great way of kind of working with each other to make them appear as if more than what they really are. So what Mr. Taylor has done is he's put out a lot of this propaganda that says things like, he's the originator of the claim that you can make more money in Vegas. And again, the absurdity of it should be obvious on its face, and that one is luck and one is based on effort. But nonetheless, he's got all that stuff out there, and Tim does a great job of debunking that. But he never says John Taylor. He says, the author of this statement says, and here's why it's wrong, which is good. That's great to an extent. But it does nothing to take away any credibility from John Taylor and anything else that he says. So the next time John Taylor says something that's anti-MLM, no one knows that's the guy that made the absurd claim about Vegas, that goofy, nonsensical claim. If they would have known that was him making it, everything else he would say would have less credibility. And again, I've got it on my website at marketwaveinc.com. Look in the article section, the ones that are rated, listed in red, where I've rebutted a lot of this anti-MLM material. And I've taken on him and some of his claims specifically, as well as people like Robert Fitzpatrick and so on and so forth. So there is responses to what they say. We can debunk every single claim they make. Again, logically, mathematically, legally, historically, we can debunk it all. But nobody wants to touch it. I submit that we should stand up and get our heads out of the sand and really start taking a proactive approach to defending this industry against all of the negative garbage, all this anti-MLM propaganda that's out there. Because first of all, it's so easy to do. Secondly, it can be extremely productive for us to do that and do a lot to tamp down this negative image that still pervades the population out there. And we can do it with actually, as a group, with very, very little effort. So it's, we could make the wiki page very neutral, literally overnight. All these anti-MLM boards that are out there, we could completely neutralize them literally overnight. If the reason why those top 6 or 7 anti-MLM sites are always the top of all the search results for MLM is because there's such a concentrated small little group of them. So anyone out there in the world that has a negative image of MLM links to those sites. And how many external sites link to you is a major factor in where you rank on the search results. So when you have thousands and thousands of sites linking to just these half dozen websites, they get ranked high. The pro sites, like the MLM attorney sites, the DSA site, MarketWave, whether it be MLM Watchdog or Troy Dooley's site or whoever it is, I mean, there are literally hundreds of generic pro sites, not counting all the thousands of obviously pro MLM sites that are specific to companies. So all the links to them get really spread out, and we don't get ranked as high. So how do you solve that? If 1% of this industry, if 1% of the 1%, okay, so let's take, what would that be? 1,000 people. If we could just all go out there and on our websites link to generic pro sites, again, like marketwaveinc.com, for example, or whoever it would be, any of the MLM attorney sites, things like that. If it supports MLM, link to it. If enough of us link to it, they'll all rise faster and faster and faster on the search results, and they'll eventually completely take over the top 20 and push all of those anti-MLM sites out. This is something, as an industry, if we could all get together to do it in a very orchestrated, in a kind of a well-controlled way, not overnight, but maybe in a week, we could all do this. We could completely take out all of that anti-MLM propaganda from the top 20 search hits. And nobody does it. So I'm putting the call out that, let's start getting together and finding ways to organize ourselves and start creating sort of a defense against the industry and see if we can do something both externally to tamp down all that anti-MLM propaganda that's out there, as well as internally to clean up the industry from within, to stop giving them legitimate reasons to bash us, because we are. So that's it for this first edition of Inside Network Marketing. If you'd like to be notified every time a new video is posted or of any newsworthy event as it occurs, just sign up for the MarketWave alerts at marketwaveinc.com. It's in the menu section. Also, there's a little link in the upper left-hand corner there you can find to do that. It's absolutely free. So always remember, if you go through your MLM career with blinders on, sooner or later, you're going to get blindsided. See you next time.